and a woman got on the elevator
And welcome back to The Factor Uncensored. What looks like a painful experience for rapper A$AP Rocky has turned into a viral meme that people are laughing at. Video shows him caught in a mosh pit during a performance at Rolling Loud. A lot of people had used a moment to get their jokes off, but A$AP Rocky says it's not funny and that someone was, quote, squeezing the life out of his balls. Would people be laughing if this happened to a woman? Let's talk about it tonight.
First, let's establish if some random person grabs you by the balls and you're in pain, is that considered sexual assault?
it all depends on how many lonely nights you've had. But no, I'm being funny. Man, I have seen situations like this to the extent that it actually happened to me, not grabbing my genitalia, but I was in an elevator in my office, and a woman got on the elevator and she just reached over and rubbed my chest and my abdomen. And she said, "You're not wearing one of those, one of those man girdles, whatever that is." And I just looked at her and I said, "Excuse me?" And she said, "Oh, I'm sorry." And she wasn't an American, she had a pronounced accent. So I'm saying that to say a couple of things. Western culture has set standards up where men are in a position, in a reverse position, that, women can do certain things that if a man were to do the same behavior, he would quickly be charged with assault, probably more than likely subject to arrest. And I think that it's gender bias in reverse.
Mm-hmm. And so when we take a look at this A$AP Rocky situation, though, if someone in the audience is grabbing you there and you did not tell them to grab you there and it's inflicting pain, would you consider that sexual assault?
Yes, I definitely would. I mean, look, it happened to Cardi B, and Cardi B gave someone a nice ass whooping because of it. But when it's a male, I think there's so much that can one, it is against the law to sexually assault someone because that's exactly what that was. But culturally and socially is another question, that if a man acts in defense, especially if he does something physically to push that person away or to defend himself, and especially a man of color or an ethnic man, he could possibly have that quickly play out in the media and the press and compromise his brand in a very significant way. But to answer the question, yes, that was definitely a sexual assault.
No, why is it? And of course, he posted a picture saying what happened, showing his face, but many people thought it was funny. And if it was a female, then, it wouldn't be so funny. It's like file charges. So like you said, there is a double standard out there. How do you even try to change something like that?
Well, I think the first thing is that we need to respect ourselves as first human beings and individuals. There is a line that must be drawn, and what is reasonable and acceptable behavior. When we violate someone's space, especially when we start touching them in areas that are totally inappropriate, what we're doing now is going and succumbing to basic primal instincts. That is not always okay. But I think it's problematic, Isaiah, especially with certain demographics. When you're in the rap industry, there is an expectation that you are hard, that, you don't snitch, you don't get law enforcement involved. But now we live in a culture that we must become aware of the consequence of behavior. If you're a man or a woman, it is highly inappropriate for you to violate the space of anyone, whether they're performing, working in an office with you, or even a significant other. If we license and endorse such behavior, then what's the next level?
And so when you have a potential sexual assault case and you take it to law enforcement as a male, you'll likely be laughed out the door.
I can say that I remember a case in Dallas, Texas, where a man was harassed by a superintendent of a school district, and he was a teacher. When that case happened, some people found it funny. Other people said it's about time men stood up. But what we have to consider is that there is a cultural standard, a double standard, where a woman can hit a man. And they say, well, you shouldn't hit her back. What I want to remind America and to remind your audience of, they're penitentiaries for women and they exist for a reason. If you are being assaulted by a female and you're a man or in a same-sex relationship, women have the ability to inflict much harm and damage just like a man does. And if such a thing is to happen to you, you should report that and follow it up. Now, here's the problem, Isaiah. When the police show up at the door of an African American or a Latino or a Middle Eastern man, they are in many instances, and I'm not saying always, not all cops are bad, but sometimes they don't ask questions and they jump to conclusions. And this is especially true when that minority man, and again, I'm not being racial or biased, but if he's involved with a white female, the tendency, depending on your community, is to probably think, well, what did you do to cause it? Did you provoke it? And did you hit her first? And in many instances, there have been several circumstances like that around the nation where men have been assaulted by a woman, either of the same race or a different race, and then they end up in handcuffs. So I think that sometimes that stigma isn't so much a stigma as it may be fear or even, and I hate to say it, common sense. You don't want to go to jail when you are the victim.
Got it. We have a lot of work to do in society. Dr. Yvonne Young, thank you for joining us here on The Factor Uncensored, and always good to see you, sir.